Well, hi YouTubers. Right, well, shout out to my new subscribers. I managed to get like 20 in the last like week or 2 weeks, so shout out to them. Okay, now I did book reviews on my YouTube channel, and this is one I picked up when I was picking up my travel guide when I went to Poland. Wild by Cheryl, based on a film that came out a few years ago, starring Reese Witherspoon. I have seen the film. Thought I'd check out the book. It's in the travel section, holiday section. It's interesting. Now, for those who don't know, Cheryl strayed in 1995. She was 26 years old, and she was having one of the worst times ever. She lost her mother 4 years before. She turned to heroin. She had an abortion, which is absolutely tragic. Difficult decision to make, no matter what the reason. And she decided, pretty much on a whim, to hike the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail. It's about almost 3,000 miles in total. She hiked 1,100. And first of all, as someone who's lost their father, I lost mine a year ago due to, as her mother, a very, very aggressive cancer. I certainly empathise with Cheryl at this point. It's aggressive, it's difficult, and you have to process a lot within a very short amount of time. My father went for someone who had beet cancer to someone who literally, he beat it, he got the all clear, then it came back in April, and by July he was gone. I had 90 days to get my head around the concept that I was going to lose my father. So, as someone who's lost their father, I can totally empathise with her struggle. That it's difficult to do. However, and yes, I have seen the film, I found this book seriously inconsistent. Yeah, I know. Now, I know that this book, it was a trailblazer. It wound up on Oprah's book list, turned to a film. Got a shout in Gilmore Girls, which I'm going to get to in a second, actually. That's, kind of reminded me about that. When Lorelai Gilmore decides on a whim to find herself. So she goes and does Wild. It doesn't say the PCT, she says, I'm going to do Wild. Which everyone knows what it means. Now, here's the thing. Now, I give a shout out for Cheryl for doing this in 1995 when she was only 26, doing the PCT. It was a difficult journey, all 1,100s of it, because she was so inexperienced. Honestly, now this obviously, she's looking back on life. This came out in 2012, I looked it up. And this was done almost 20 years before. I found it so inconsistent. For someone who has spent her time trying to get the information together for the PCT, she had never to that point packed her own rucksack. It weighed 50 pounds. She could barely walk in it. And she just filled it with books and rubbish and things that she didn't need. She called it Monster, which I thought, hey, it was quite funny in a way, But she's struggling with this backpack weighing 50 pounds because she had no idea how to pack it. It's like she packed it and then remembered, oh my God, I need water. I'm not going to get water for like the next 2 weeks. Where am I going to get water from? She didn't even pack her own her rucksack until she got to the motel where she started her journey. She never went out in her tent. She had literally never ever hiked before, which is so dangerous. I was like, why would you do that if you planned this journey? Apparently she was a waitress at the time prior to this, and she spent months planning this journey, saving all her money towards it, but had never tried out her equipment. Who does that? That's dangerous. You go now at a time, 1995, which is like, oh, seriously, a different world really to what the world is today. And you're not prepared for it. And you're travelling solo. Now, travelling solo, much has been made of the fact you travel solo, but I'm a solo traveller, as long as you do your homework and your research. And here now comes another problem. Everyone on this trail worships her. Okay, I know. Literally, the moment she starts out, virtually everyone she meets does something for her. They pick her up in the car. She hitchhikes and they pick up when there are problems. They take her to the next spot on her journey. They give her stuff. Sorry. They give her stuff. There's 2 points. At one point, I actually laughed when she just like this campsite, hasn't got the money to pay for it, and these two old people just kick her off it, and she seems kind of shocked. how in this journey everyone's been so nice to her. Little things where she's got absolutely no food, so she hangs out outside a like supermarket until someone who like works there takes pity on her and takes her home and feeds her, and they swap books. She fills up her backpack with books instead of stuff that she actually needs, and she doesn't even know what she needs. So there's a kind of inconsistency where everyone she meets helps her. And I just kind of, you know, when you're doing a book like this, obviously she's writing this so long, so many, like almost 2 decades later. But I just started thinking, it's like an idealized life. A woman goes to hike the PCT single-handedly, and everyone starts falling at her feet. People, experienced trackers who are starting behind her, read her little notes. She's like these little inspirational notes in like the trail, like camp logs, if you will. People read them and are inspired by her. They want to meet the great famous Cheryl because she's inspiring to them, because she's doing this all by herself. And I just sat there reading this thinking, you can't be the only person in the history of the PCT to do a solo hike. Not even a woman, okay? Everyone admires her for her struggle and her journey. And this one, okay, here's an example, okay? Let me just pull this bit out here, okay? Sorry, find the right bit. Right, it's on page 93. Right. I finished ambling barefoot around my camp and was packed up and ready to go when 2 men appeared on the trail from the south. Like Greg, oh, another PCT trailer, they greeted me by name before I'd even spoken a word. They were Albert and Matt, a father and son team from Georgia, hiking the entire trail. Albert was 52, Matt 24. Both had been Eagle Scouts and they looked it. They had a clean-cut sincerity and a military precision that belayed their grizzled beards, their dust-capped calves, and the 5-foot stench cloud that surrounded their every move. Jiminy Cricket, Albert dawdled when he saw Monster. What you got in there, girlie-o? There's like everything but the kitchen sink. Jiminy Cricket? Who talks like that? No one. That's an example. Everyone seems to fall at show. Everyone knows her name. You know, she is known eventually as the queen of the PCT because everyone just gives her stuff. And it's true. She needs a ride, they appear. She needs food, it magically appears for her. And I just started thinking, maybe if you'd plan this a little bit better, you wouldn't be in this situation. It's kind of like people will come to rescue Cheryl because she's so brave, doing this hike all by herself. And she's had such a struggle. And beating a heroin addiction, losing your parent, I've been there. It's not the heroin addiction, not that, okay? Losing a parent, I've been there, okay? It's a difficult time. But this kind of flashing back to her life, earlier life, in fact, this entire, originally at the first half of the trek, virtually every single page, you're reminded of her mother, which is tragic, but we, as a reader, we know this. We don't need to be reminded of this every single time. Her mother, she feels like her mother's presence behind her. Everything she does is reminded of her mother, which, yeah, is tragic, but I was like, you don't really need to keep reminding us, the reader, about your mother. We understand that you're grieving. You don't need to keep going on about it. Cruel as that may sound. And Cheryl's character is so inconsistent as well. It feels like sometimes she's kind of justifying her behaviour because she lost her mother, which, as again, is tragic, but it's so inconsistent in a way. And unlike the film, she actually has 2 siblings, Karen and Leaf, who barely even get a mention, apart from the fact that she was looking for Leaf the night her mother died. Kind of not understanding the case that people grieve differently, and obviously Leaf being the youngest brother was struggling, and Karen doesn't get a mention at all, virtually, the older sibling, so hey. So it just seems like she's, and after her mother tragically passed away, Cheryl tried to keep her family together, but it all kind of went their separate ways. But I was thinking, you're 22 when you lost your mother, and your family just kind of fractured. Once again, kind of like an inconsistency. And I just found this such a struggle. And there's one bit as well, it comes at the start of the book, where Cheryl's describing her stuff. Okay? Here we go. Okay, all the books. This is page 40, okay? There was a full-size professional quality 35mm Minolta X700 camera with a separate attachable zoom lens and another separate attachable flash and a tiny collapsible tripod, all of which was packed inside a padded camera the size of a football. Not that I was a photographer. That's good because there's no photos of this. Now, I live in London. I had never heard of PCT until I even saw the film. It was a total mystery to me. I was looking forward to see the images that Cheryl captured on her journey, the actual real Cheryl Strayed in her pictures, her images, this kind of beautiful PCT that she describes. Yet, apart from this bit towards the end where she mentions, okay, on page 273, okay, so over 200 pages later, she mentions she's at this beautiful lake called Crater Lake, okay. I took a few photographs and walked along the lake's rims to a near gathering of buildings that are built to accommodate tourists. Pictures of the lake would have been nice. Pictures of this description. Obviously, I actually googled images to see if maybe someone just want publishing the book. I found like 4 pictures and they're basically of Cheryl standing there. And they're not like selfies. Naturally, 1995, camera technology wasn't really digital, if you will. If you try and take a picture of yourself, you've just got to do that. And hopefully it comes out. They seem to be taken far away, like maybe on a tripod. They seem very, very kind of crisp and clean, if you will. So, and it's that kind of inconsistency that kind of really, really bothered me. Because I wanted to understand the world of PCT. I wanted to hear more about the people, but it just felt like at various points where it got too difficult, she just walked away from the PCT and just hitchhiked. Like, another example here, okay? Now, she covered 1,100 miles, okay? She's at this Crater Lake, and then, literally the next chapter, chapter 17, into a primal gear. Oregon was a hopscotch in my mind. I skipped it, spun it, leapt it in my imagination all the way to Crater Lake, to the Bridge of the Gods. 85 miles to my next box at a place called Shelter Cove Resort. Okay? So, 2017, she's getting closer, but I still added up to 334 miles to hike. That's a third of her journey, but it's page 274. And the book ends at 311. So a third of her journey wasn't even covered. At various points, she seems to be convinced that Bigfoot will come after her, which, you know, Bigfoot's not real. She just seems to it's so inconsistent. It's like, I'm hungry, so I'm going to hitchhike. I will skip this part of the trail and then hitchhike a little bit more. And I just sat there thinking, how much of this 1,100 journey did you hitchhike? And how much did you cover? That's the kind of thing. Because obviously I'm ignorant of the PCT. I didn't even know it existed until the film came out. If there was like a map, a page map, marking the trail, there seemed to be no consistency between how many miles you covered each day, how many miles you had to go, how many miles at this point to that point. At the start of the book, she starts out very, very small. Obviously, she's never hiked before. So she's covering only a couple of miles a day. That's fine. No one's going to judge you for being a newbie, okay? But how much did you cover overall? This is based on her diary entries, I've come to understand. So how many miles was it per day? I mean, just even a rough estimate. Just like a map, just like on each page, mark out this point to this point, just would have been beneficial. Because it took her probably about 3 months. I'd like to know how much you spend at each point. I mean, you'd be stopping, how much time with each person. So, it just seems kind of inconsistent. I guess I inconsistency, because that's what it is. And at times, Cheryl comes across as really, really arrogant. Now, obviously, I'm basing what I know of her from this book, but that's all I have really to go on. At one point where she said to her mother, flashing back, at 22, I'm more sophisticated than you were at 22. Because her mother fell pregnant at 19 and had her elder sister Karen. However, Cheryl got married at 19. So, you know, to say to your own mother, I'm more sophisticated than you, that's a little bit, Yeah, that's an example, a kind of actual arrogance. She seems to see herself as someone really, really educated because she got into college. But at the same time, she dropped out of college. because she couldn't finish a paper of only a couple of hundred words. Even though my university let me defer when my father got sick, I'm sure her university would have let her done the same. Take some time off and recover and come back. That's what, that's why it's taken me a long time to finish my own degree. At times she seems to kind of worship her mother and yet hate her because of the things that her mother didn't do for her, like help her apply for colleges. But, it's blaming your mother for dying, which is sad. And even I will admit I've been down that road. But to blame her for that, to me, that she couldn't help. And one point that kind of threw, actually there's more than one point that threw me. One is when she killed her mother's horse lady. Well, she didn't in the end, her brother did, Leaf. And this bit here is when this is page 269, when she's discussing her mother's cremation and burial. And the ashes. She wanted us to remember that, and so I'm with you. She wanted us to remember that, and I did. It felt like she was with me, metaphorically at least. In a way, it was literal too. When we finally laid down at that tombstone and spread her ashes into the dirt, I haven't spread them all. I kept a few of the largest chunks in my hand. I stood for a long while, not ready to release them to the earth. I didn't release them. I never ever would. I put her burnt bones into my mouth and I swallowed them whole. What? So, is that right? I mean, there's a kind of like a blur in a way, okay, of what I think. I think Cheryl Stray did hike the PCT. There's no doubt in that, but I don't think it went down like this. I just can't. It's just so inconsistent. I was looking forward to seeing the pictures and the people that she met, because sometimes it just seems like she's coming across as a teenager, just frustrated at this situation of drinking her last bit of water but finding out that she hasn't got any more, running out of money. Realistic, yes, definitely. And at various points, it goes into just total eloquence, like this bit here from page 188, which I love. This line here. Of all the things I'd done in my life, of all the versions of myself I'd lived out, there was one thing that had never changed. I was a writer. Someday I intended to write a novel of my own. I felt ashamed that I hadn't written one already. In a vision I had of myself 10 years before, I felt sure I'd have published my first book by now. I'd written several short stories and made a serious stab at a novel, but I wasn't anywhere close to having a book done. In the torment of the past year, it seemed as if writing had left me forever, but as I hid, I could feel that novel coming back to me, asserting its voice among the song fragments and advertising jingles in my mind. That's beautiful. That is a kind of a character coming to a realisation about themselves, about what they need to be at the next point in their life. It's some eloquence about that. And then further along, she's just so, I dare say this, kind of childlike, and when it comes to people giving her stuff, kind of entitled. That is not really good sign. As I said, inconsistent. Now, regarding sex and sexuality, I will actually applaud this. On her journey, she bought contraception, which I absolutely applaud, because obviously you're hiking by yourself. You never know when an opportunity might arise, and it's always good in the 21st century, or 20th century when it's all done, for a woman to take responsibility for their sexual health. That's admirable, by the way. However, it kind of started out, sex was constantly playing on her mind. She was such a sex addict at this point in her life, by the way, that it kind of bled into every single facet of her life, to the point where it kind of got kind of born on ridiculous. Let me flash back to the start of the book. This point grabbed me. This is when her mother said, this is page 21, okay? Comfortable, and yet the nurses tried to give her as little morphine as they could. One of the nurses was a man, and I could see the outline of his penis through his tight white nurse's trousers. I wanted desperately to pull him into the small bathroom beyond the foot of my mother's bed and offer myself up to him, to do anything at all if he would help us. And also I wanted to take pleasure from him, to feel the weight of his body against me, to feel his mouth in my hair and hear him say my name to me over and over again, to force him to acknowledge me, to make this matter to him, the Crush's Heart of Mercy for us. This was written at a time when Cheryl was actually still married. So so even before her mother, you know, passed on, she was obviously having feelings for someone who wasn't her husband, and that's kind of how it is. Now, it's okay to, you know, for women, of course, own your sexuality, but it just seems, whilst on the PCP, the way she saw men was, is he attracted to me? Am I attracted to him? To the point where, well, I keep saying to the point where it kind of got, I think in her own mind, she saw herself as she actually mentions this mighty Amazon warrior, but it just seemed to kind of, as I said before, everyone seems to worship Cheryl. Further along in the book, these like tough, I think they were Marines who served in they were impressed by her braveness, and you know, they actually leave beer behind for her. A scout troop who on an overnight hike admire her for her bravery. Once again, doing the PCT, I guess was by Solo's brave, but not as brave as she seems to think. And once again, this goes back to, once I said, the Gilmore Girls. What she did was not a smart move to hike it so unprepared. It kind of goes into, I guess, a kind of like cultural victimhood, if you will. This brave woman against the elements due to her own ill preparations. Now, the Gilmore Girls, one thing I do remember from that episode, because I was like, of all the people to do wild, okay, Laura Gilmore, is when she met other women on the trail who literally were in a division between book and film. And the park ranger didn't care, okay, but it's like, are you the wild girls, book or film? And there was a difference, okay, and they actually bought boots, hiking boots, one of them to throw over a mountain, okay, because that's what she actually does. That's how actually the book and the film starts with her. Her boots don't fit anymore, so she throws it over a mountain. Well, actually, no. In the film, she throws it over. In the book, her backpack monster kind of knocks it over. It falls and knocks it over. She gets new ones for everyone now. That's the kind of thing. You know, these women, it was so they seem to think that wild was this kind of like easy journey. That they bought wine to prepare them. I didn't realise until now how satirical that scene actually was. Now I've read the book, I'm thinking, my God, that was such a satirical scene in Gilmore Girls, which is kind of known for them. You know, it's kind of based on pop culture. So, I didn't mind it, but I just sat there reading this, thinking, all I see of this protagonist is an unprepared woman who, kudos to you, you made your life better, but this would have been a bit more stronger if there'd been some pictures. If you spent a bit more time on the PCT, that last 300 miles, what, nothing happened? More descriptions of the world around you. And that kind of thing. I was looking forward to reading about places I'd never visited. And in the end, it just felt like a lot of it was hitchhiked. And also, one thing I did pick up on was Snapple. She mentioned Snapple quite a bit. Snapple is kind of like her drink of choice. To the point where, as happens in the film as well, where these gruff hikers, hunters on the trail, which, okay, with loaded weapons, don't have any water, so they look for, you know, hope for some. And they've been drinking Pepsi all day, and I'm just sort of thinking, I think experienced hikers would have bought water, because it's probably the first thing you think about if you're hiking. Is Snapple. She loves Snapple. Every time she stops at a place, she has to drink Snapple. To the point where I was like, I'm 37, I'm from London, I know of Snapple, but this inspired me. I can never do the PCT, because I've got mesh on my foot. There's no way I could ever hike at 1,100 miles. So kudos to you for doing it. So, today, when I was shopping, I saw Snapple. This has inspired me not to hike the PCT, but after 37 years on this planet, I'm going to try Snapple. Let's see what it tastes like. You shake it first. Okay? Because Cheryl Stray loves Snapple. This smells weird. Fruit punch bunch. Disgusting. There you go. I mean, that be inspired to PCT. Inspired to try Snapple. So anyway, thanks for watching this. Let me know what you think. If I understand the reason why it became so popular, because this may have inspired so many, inspiring power so many women to do the hike themselves. That's a good thing. But I just found it too inconsistent to really, really enjoy it. I wanted to know more about the world of PCT than what I got from the book. But Cheryl Strayed, hey, well done for actually doing it. So, but anyway, thanks for watching, YouTubers. Sign off and take care. Bye now.